Hey y'all, Data Guy here. And today I have a video for you where I'm going to go through a really old viewer request video, but one that is always pertinent. And that is how can you migrate metadata from one Airflow environment to another? So there's a variety of reasons you might want to do this. Maybe you're migrating from, hey, hosting in AWS to hosting in Google, or maybe the way you're running Airflow, you can't upgrade in place. You need to create a new Airflow environment and then migrate your DAGs over there. But you want to make sure that you're migrating not only the DAGs, but their historical DAG run information, because that can sometimes be really important for things like backfills, retries, and not having it preserved so you can go back and look at historical DAG runs can cause some real problems. So what I'm going to show you today is exactly that, a DAG that will pull out all the metadata from the backend Airflow Postgres database and then export it so it is available to then be inserted into the Postgres database, and you can sub out whatever database you're using as your Airflow backend, export all that data, and then import it into the new backend database of your new Airflow environment. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get started. And so to actually get started, I'm just going to click into one of my existing Airflow environments, just so has some information that I can pull out of it. So we don't really need to worry about any of the DAGs that are in here, or really any of the details, because all I want to show is how to build a new DAG. And so the first thing we're going to need to do is just create a new file. Don't need to do any imports or packages, since we're just exporting regular Airflow information. So we'll just call this migration dag.py. And then at the top of this migration DAG, we'll import a few of our different packages. So here we're going to import Airflow DAG, the Python operator, just because we're doing any simple Python scripts. And then we're going to import the Airflow models for the DAG bag and DAG model. So this will allow us to interact with and pull information from the Airflow DAG bag and also from the DAG model. And the DAG model is what contains a lot of the actual metadata around your DAG. It is the kind of template you can think about, or the skeleton of your DAG. And so that's where you have that historical DAG run information stored. And then we're also going to import date time, time delta, just classic standard, and JSON for interacting with receiving data from an API, from an endpoint, and then converting it from that JSON into a SQL readable array or database. So once we have all of our packages and requirements set up, we're just going to define our default arguments. So nothing really too important here, but always important to have them. So just setting an owner, depends on paths, email, retries, and retry delay. And then we will define the DAG. So the first thing we're going to need to define is that task that's actually going to extract our metadata. Well, the first thing we're actually going to define is just the DAG. So here, calling this migrate DAG metadata, passing those default args, giving it a simple description, schedule interval, start date, etc. And then we're going to define the DAG metadata. So here, we're going to define extract DAG metadata as just a Python function. And then we are going to have a source DAG bag, so just the path to our folders. So for us, it is just going to be directly to the DAGs folder, so delete the rest of that. So setting our DAGs folder just as /DAGs. And then what we'll do next is create an empty array to hold our DAGs metadata, create that there, and then basically create an iteration loop to go through every DAG ID in source DAG bags, get those DAGs, and then for each DAG, get that DAG ID from, or using that DAG ID from the list of DAGs here, get the information around that DAG, and then here you have the information around the DAG metadata. So here you have the DAG ID, schedule interval, default args, tags, and you can also get any other metadata you want around that DAG. In here, just go look up the different DAG metadata endpoints. They'll all be accessible from this kind of JSON style format. So just a way to customize it for additional information. And then what we're also going to do is with this open, we're just going to dump this into save our DAGs metadata. I'm going to have it alongside our include directory. So include DAGs metadata.json, so it'll go in here down on the left. And then what we'll do is just return DAGs metadata, just so we have a list or a connection point to where it's actually saved, and boom. So now we have that DAGs metadata available. It's extracted, it's saved locally, and you can also save this in a S3 bucket or wherever you want as an intermediary storage. And now we can define our next task, which is going to be actually taking this DAG metadata and then loading it into our backend database. And so actually this is a very simple kind of interpretation of how to do it. So I just wanted to show you this as like a basic understanding of, hey, this is how I can get my DAG information. But in practice, what we're actually going to want to do is replace this all with the ability to do this directly from the database. So when you're doing it from the database, it gets a little more abstract, which is why I wanted to show you that first. And so to do that, just going to need a couple more things added to our requirements.txt. So here, just importing logging OS SQL Alchemy to create an engine to create a local SQL database that we're going to use as an intermediary point between our old Postgres database and our new Postgres database. And then what we're going to do here after our DAG creation is actually set environment variables for our database connections and file paths. So best practice is to do this instead of just hard coding it into the actual file. So here, have source DAG folder, and then this is again just going to pass the DAGs. Path to DAGs, and then set include directory here. And then here you can see we have our Postgres database, which is going to just be username, passwords, Postgres for both by default. So Postgres, and obviously if you've changed that for your Airflow backend database or your target database, make sure you reflect that here. And then what we'll do is create a database session. So we're going to create our SQL Alchemy engine here, bind it just to to your local URL here. And then we're going to define a similar extraction function for extracting the DAG metadata. So here again, going to the DAG bag, extracting all that metadata, dumping it out to that metadata file path, just additionally adding some logging here, and just making it a little bit more robust rather than just kind of saving it as an array without any kind of failure conditions. So then, once we've defined that, we'll then define a function to load the DAG metadata. So here, define load DAG metadata, and then what we're going to do is try with that open metadata file path that we're getting from here. We are then going to load that from that JSON file we saved, and then we are going to create a database session with that target database. So here, that's right. So here we're using that create session function that we defined earlier with that target database URL. And then for our DAG ID for every metadata, for every DAG ID and for all the metadata in that DAG's metadata array, we are then going to pull that data from the DAG model and then save it as a DAG model. So saving it in the format that Airflow expects it to be, the metadata around it, the migrated DAG, all the information that you need around your DAG to be imported into your new database. And then setting the schedule interval, default view, tags, session, and this is again where you customize and add any other information that's being pulled out relative to those DAGs. And then we have the session commit to just commit those changes into our backend database, and then again just implementing some basic logging here so that we can just get more robust errors within the Airflow logs because that is always helpful when trying to debug. And so after we defined our Python functions, relatively simple rest of the DAG, we're just going to define an extract task Python operator that is going to call this extract DAG metadata function. And then our next function is just going to be a load task Python operator where we're going to load the DAG metadata, Python callable again, and then set the task dependencies. So again, really simple here, just extract task and load task. And just some kind of call outs here, like this is really all you need for setting up. And that's really all I have for you today. Just wanted to make y'all a quick video breaking down how you can just easily migrate your data about your DAGs from one Airflow instance to another without a lot of complexity. It's something that a lot of people have to do, should be a functional thing. And so here you go. So I hope you have learned something from this video. I hope it's helped you understand how you can migrate your data from one Airflow database to another. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Data Guy out.